on? My name is Matt Parker and today it is my pleasure to be reviewing the JMJ Fender Mustang. Now, this is one of my favourite signature basses to come out of Fender because it's got a load of features which make it a really cool offering in the Mexican Fender price point. It features an older body with a road-worn Daphne blue nitro finish, which is really cool to see Fender doing at the Mexi price point. It also features a one-piece maple neck with a nitro finish and a rosewood fingerboard. As you can see on the back of the headstock, it's got hip-shot lollipop tuners and a JMJ signature. If we move to the front of the headstock, we'll see it's got a period-correct Fender Mustang logo based on JMJ's very own personal 1966 Mustang. One of the things that I really like is that they've kept a vintage-correct 9.5 fingerboard and it's a rosewood board to mate onto that maple neck. I also really like the fact that it's got aged pearloid dot inlays, again, just making sure that that's period correct. Moving to the butt of the neck, we can see that it's got a vintage correct heel truss rod adjuster, again, vintage correct piece. Moving back to the body, we've got an aged pearloid finger guard, and I like the fact that it's got the two screw holes here from where a tug bar originally would have been before being moved up to a thumb rest. So when Leo invented the tug bar, it would have originally been there and it was for people to rest their fingers on and use their thumb to pluck. But obviously over time, people started putting it up here and using it as a thumb rest and then using fingers. Now, one of the things I really like about Mustangs is they're fairly no nonsense, kind of a bit like a P-Bass in that they've got a volume and a tone control, and then they're controlling this smaller split coil pickup. Now, for those of you that don't know much about Mustangs, they're actually a 30-inch scale length. Originally, they were designed as a bit more of a student model, and so they had a 30-inch scale length from the nut to the bridge saddles. What that gives you is a little bit less string tension, more emphasis on the fundamental low notes, and a little bit less sustain, so the strings decay a little bit quicker due to the lack of tension. One of the cool things about the Mustang, though, is that it is string through body, which gives you a better break angle over the saddles. Now, a cool thing about this bass is that it ships with flat one strings. We don't see as many flat ones these days as they're a little bit out of fashion, but it's really nice to see that this would have been period correct from Fender in the 60s. Now, because there's not much in terms of controls with the Mustang, we've got that volume and tone. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some clean tone samples, and then I'm going to give you some kind of like fuzz and dirt driven channels, simply because the Mustang has really found a following in the indie and punk scenes, and that's kind of where it excels in the mix. So there we have it, the Fender JMJ Mustang. Now, I think this bass has a lot going for it. Some of the cool features are obviously it's nitro, and with nitro, it's going to wear as you play, so it's only going to start looking cooler. And because it's road worn, you're not going to care if you get any dings at a gig or like when it stays on the stand. That being said, there are a couple of things with this bass which I wasn't a massive fan of, and I thought I'd bring up just for any prospective buyers so that they can make up their own minds. The first is that when it's on your lap, there's a bit of neck dive, and it's nothing too serious, but the body on this is thankfully quite light, but then it does mean that all the hardware at the end of the headstock starts to bring the neck down a little bit. It's not too bad if you're resting your arm on it, but if you're doing a floating hand technique, you do have to keep her finger on the neck. The second thing I wasn't a huge fan of is the pickups. To be honest, I thought they were okay, but at this price point, they didn't blow me away, and frankly have sounded quite comparable to any of the classic vibe Squire Mustangs that I've played recently. And that brings me to the last point, which I think we can't really skirt around, and that is the price. Now, at the time of making this video, these are retailing around £1,350 to £1,400 here in the UK, and that is a lot of money for a Mexican-made Fender. I know that you are getting some vintage appointments like nitro finishes and vintage correct features, but you're still kind of in the territory of American Performer and American Professional Mustangs at that point. Certainly on the second-hand market, you could be getting a US made bass, which potentially might have some better resale. That being said, there is still loads to like about the JMJ Mustang. It's particularly lightweight, the neck feels great, and I just can't get over how cool this worn Daphne finish is. If you're looking for a vintage inspired short scale bass, this is really one that you should check out. If you've enjoyed today's video, then please think about liking, commenting and subscribing, as the engagement really helps me grow the channel in these early stages. As always, I've been Matt Parker. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully see you next time.